Are you tired of hitting roadblocks in your dating life? Join me for a free masterclass on Wednesday, January 10th at 6 p.m. Pacific time, where I'll be revealing the 3 nice guy dating patterns that turn women off and what you should be doing instead. Unlock the secrets to creating genuine attraction. Click the link in the description to sign up now. This guy had a comment he left under my pull-away test video that I think is very telling, right? So he says, Harry, this is the first time I've come across your video. This content is great for the preliminary stages of a relationship. What are your thoughts when you were in a long-term committed relationship, when you need to either confront or address perceived negative behavior or boundary issues? I understand when you mention not calling her out if you are not prioritized or on the bottom of her schedule. As men, you don't want to present as clingy or needy, which is repulsive to women and anti-masculine. Have you done a video on long-term committed relationships? You're a great communicator. You come across well. So here's the thing. The reason that I focus so much of my content on the preliminary stages of dating is because I fundamentally believe that 90% of your dating and relationship problems can be solved if you are able to see all this stuff in the beginning, right? It's like building a house, you know? If I'm building a house, right? And I'm building it with popsicle sticks, and then at the end of it, I'm like, oh crap, you know what? This house, the popsicle stick foundation probably isn't the best. I should just go ahead and fix it. Well, now I've built the whole house with popsicle sticks. It's gonna be kind of hard to go back in and try to pour concrete or some other stronger wood there when I already have the popsicle sticks glued down, and it's probably most likely to fall anyway, right? Versus, oh, we're putting a house together. Before we even start building the house, right? Let's figure out, do we need to put in some drywall? Do we need to put in a cement base? Are we going to have a garage here or not? What kind of beams do we need to put into the walls to make sure it's going to stick? Like builders plan all of that stuff out before they build the house. Why? Because it's a lot harder once that house is built to try to fix like major foundation things, right? And so the same is true with relationships. Like, the reason I teach so much about preliminary stuff is because, like, a lot of the fights and issues that come up later in a relationship, if most guys were honest with themselves, were red flags that showed up at the beginning of the relationship that they decided to ignore, you know? So if she's, for example, like with the guy earlier, 8 months in, he's having to deal with his girlfriend who's talking to an ex-boyfriend on Messenger, right? Well, if he had vetted that kind of thing at month 2, it would be easier to confront it then, where there's not all these feelings built and where there's not a relationship formed, versus 8 months in, where now it's like, crap, I want to keep her, but like we have this issue coming up. Well, it's an issue that wouldn't have come up if it had been handled early on in the dating process. So that's why I focus so much on in the beginning stuff, right? Now, with that said, assuming that you've done a good job vetting the girl that you want to date, and you're seeing that she really is like somebody that's loving and caring, then what you'll find is that when issues arise, ideally, you're looking at the other person and thinking to yourself, okay, they said this thing, they did this thing, but honestly, like, I know they love me, I know they care for me, so I don't think that they're coming at this with malice intent. And that's the thing. You have to know your partner enough to know that when these things arise, they're not doing it intentionally, and they're not doing it with any kind of malice intent. So if you are able to see your significant other and say, okay, I know they love me, I know they care for me, this isn't on purpose, then you can go to them and say, hey, so, you know, because you should never go to somebody and just be like, you're doing this thing, you hurt my feelings, you're doing it on purpose. It's not going to win you any points, right? What you can say is, hey, so I don't know if you're aware of this thing, but like when you said this thing or when this thing happened, like this is how I took it. Like this thing is something that you did, and this was my response to it. I don't think that you meant anything by it, but I'm going to tell you this is how I responded to it. What can we do about that? Now, a woman that has a good head on her shoulders, she'll be like, oh man, I didn't know you took it that way. You know, when I said this thing, this is what I actually meant. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, blah, 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 blah. A woman that doesn't have a good head on her shoulders will be like, oh, you're blaming me for this thing, but you do this, and how dare you say this, and you're hurting my feelings, and oh my God, I'm going to cry now. But again, that's the kind of thing that will show up early on if you're being honest in your conversation with the woman. Like if it's until like month 5 or 6 that you have your first disagreement with a woman, then you're missing out on what you should have done in the earlier stages, which is like this is why when you're dating early on, you can't be a guy that's afraid to like tell your truth or be honest with who you are, because you want her at some point to actually disagree about some thought you had or about some way that you're acting, so you can get the practice of seeing what she's going to be like in conflict and confrontation. But even when you're in that situation, you also need the practice of being able to handle those things when they come up and handle them in the way that is graceful, that's not attacking this other person. And you need practice of that, But all that to say is at the end of the day, in terms of dealing with conflict in a long-term relationship, ideally you vetted the person enough to where they love and care for you. So you're not coming at them they're not coming at you doing this thing with malice intent. So you're not going to try to respond to it with malice intent or accusations or assuming that they meant to do you harm. Like, you go to them lovingly and say, hey, this thing's happening. I noticed this thing was said. This is how I took it. What can we do about that? And then they'll be like, oh my God, blah, blah, and you'll be able to handle it. Because here's the thing. I think conflicts in relationships will always happen. Fights don't have to happen. Like, you can respectfully disagree with somebody or respectfully say, hey, I don't appreciate when this thing happened, without having to take it to the level where you're fighting her, you're yelling at her, you're calling her out of her name. And that goes back to you, guy. You need to have more emotional intelligence, and you need to be better at having conflict resolution. Funny enough, in the Introvert Dating Success Academy, I have a whole video that just talks about how to handle conflict when it arises, because I think it's going to be very important for you, not just in the early stages, but in terms of a long-term relationship of keeping you all both happy. If you are the guy that's the prize and you're the guy that's leading the relationship, that means you also have to be the guy that knows how to handle conflict, that needs to know how to calm her down when she gets wild. Like, when women come to me like, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, hey, I will, hey, before you continue talking, I will sit here. I will listen to what you have to say. If something's bugging you that I'm doing, I have no ego about this. I will be able to talk about that. But what we're not going to do is yell and talk over each other and interrupt. So if you want to talk about it, we can. But like, if you're going to yell, I'm going home. And sometimes I've dated women where it's like, well, look at you, blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, okay, you know what? I said, I'm going home. We'll talk about this later when you're more calm. No, okay. I'll be calm. And so that's you as the guy coming to the situation knowing that it's fine to talk about stuff, but that you're going to control the room. You control how this energy is going to go. And women are usually going to feed off your energy. If she's yelling at you and you start yelling back, you're now feeding off her energy, and that's never going to be a good thing. So you as the guy need to be calm, cool, collected. Now, it's funny enough, I've also read, though, that women like to get a rise out of you because they feel as though if you're not being emotional, then you don't really care about the issue at hand. So you can be like, hey, I'm talking about this, blah, 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 blah. You can be passionate in your delivery of what you're saying, but you don't have to take it to just like on the show, I don't really yell. I might get a little passionate, but I don't really yell, but it's like, you can still feel the passion in what I'm saying. And so women just want to feel the passion of what you're saying and feel that you're delivering it to them in a way where you're showing how important this issue is to you, or that you do care about what they care about, and that is important to you as well. But you don't take it to the energy level that she's bringing of like yelling and cursing and fighting, because if you do that, then ultimately, guy, you lose out. You calling her out of her name and yelling and stuff, it doesn't make her feel heard, makes her feel scared a little bit, and it's not going to make her feel like she has a partner that she's really in this with, and she's going to look down on you as a leader, because you as a leader should be more calm than that. But again, you got to vet these chicks early in the dating process. If you're not doing that, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're just like, if you're just in the early date phases, like, I just want to get sex and it'll be cool, and I'll deal with the rest later. Don't fall for that trap, guy. It's a trap. So hopefully a guy that helps you out. But anyway, guys, you's a bad boy, but you can't stop, won't stop. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high class man. You a high class man. You a high earning,